Hey, I'm Liz from No Trace. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a small tote bag with a zipper. This is the perfect size for a small purse when you want to do a quick errand. It also would work great for a little snack or a small sketch pad and some crayons or markers. It also sews up really fast, so let's jump in. The finished size of this little zippered tote bag is about 7.5 inches wide and about 8 inches tall. In order to make this mini zippered tote bag, you are going to need a 7-inch zipper, 2 pieces of fabric for the outside that are 8.5 inches wide and 9 inches tall, 2 pieces for the inside that are also 8.5 by 9, and then 2 pieces of fabric to make the straps. I made my straps 12 inches long out of scraps that were each 4.5 inches wide. You could absolutely make your straps less than 12 inches or more narrow than this. You could use ribbons or cotton webbing. So it's really up to you. And as always, all of these measurements are in the description box below this video. So just click down below to see the numbers written down. If you decide to make your own straps, that is the very first step for creating this mini tote bag with a zipper. I'm going to go ahead and iron my fabric to create my straps. So I like to iron them in half lengthwise, open them up and bring the raw edges in, fold and iron again. I have a whole tutorial on how to sew your own straps. I'm going to link to that tutorial right here if you want more details on making the straps. The straps are finished. So in the next step, I'm going to take one of my outer panels and my zipper, and I'm going to clip the right side of the zipper onto the right side top edge of the fabric. So I'm just putting these face to face. Then I'm going to go ahead and just clip it on the very side edges. And once that's clipped in place, I'm going to take one of my straps and I'm going to fold it. Make sure there's no twist in it. It's just folded neatly. And it's going to go in between the zipper and the fabric. So I'm just sliding it under the zipper on top of the fabric. Now I've got my ruler and I want to clip the strap 2 inches away from the side edge. So this is 2 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and clip it right there. Then I'm going to come to the other end of my strap, which you can see right there. Do the same thing. I'm going to measure 2 inches over from the side edge and clip it right in place. Then I'm going to take one of my pieces of liner fabric and I'm going to put it right side towards right side and add it into these clips up here at the top edge. So I'm just going to take my time and open the clips, add in the next piece of fabric. And now I'm ready to sew. I've got a zipper foot on my machine. I'm going to take off my first clip so I can get my bag under the zipper foot. And then I'm just going to sew all the way down. I'm going to do a back stitch at the beginning and the end. And whenever I go over one of my straps, which I can feel here, or you can also peek between your layers and see, when I sew over a strap, I'm going to sew over it with extra rows of stitches so that it's super secure. So when I'm sewing with about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Also, when I get near the zipper pull, I am going to lift my presser foot and then I'm going to push the pull. You can kind of see that. I'm going to push it to the back so that it doesn't get in the way of my sewing. Okay. Then I can lower my presser foot and keep going. So the first seam is done. So now I'm going to flip open the bag and close up my zipper again. And now I want to clip the other pieces of fabric and the other strap onto the other side of the zipper up here. So I'm going to have my fabric with the print going in the right direction. Once again, I'm going to put the right side of the zipper right on top of the right side of my fabric and clip it into place. I've only clipped on the edges, so now I'm going to take my strap and fold it once again. And once again, I'm going to put my strap in between the zipper and the fabric. And we can measure it with the ruler again, or we can use our other straps to make sure that we're pinning the second strap in the same location. So I added these 2 clips, and now you can peek and just take a look, make sure that the straps are going to be lined up with each other, and looks good. So next up, grab the other piece of liner fabric. Once again, we want it right side to right side, and we're going to add this into the clips. And now it's time to sew. Once again, I am going to take off this first clip, and I'm going to sew these layers together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This seam is now done. So in the next step, I'm going to open things up and close that zipper. And I'm going to iron the fabric. So I'm going to iron the top layers away from the zipper, and then I'm going to flip it over and also iron the bottom layers away from the zipper. So I'm just going to gently press down on that side, flip the fabric around, and then repeat on the underside. Now I want to top stitch right along this top edge of my outside fabric, but I like to move the liner fabric out of the way so that I'm only sewing through this part of the bag, and I'm not catching my liner fabric in my top stitch. Still have my zipper foot in place for this, and it's always a good idea to peek underneath, make sure you're only sewing one side of fabric. First top stitch is done. So now I'm going to flip my bag around, and I'm going to make sure I'm only sewing through this side of the material. And once again, I'm just going to go straight down. Okay, both sides have been top stitched. So now we're ready to sew the bag up. And if you want to add a tag or a little decorative loop, you're going to want to grab that for the next step. I'm going to add a little no trace tag because I like to. I have a link to the Etsy shop that I get my tags from. So if you want to get some of your own tags, just go ahead and click in the description box below this video. Next step is to open the zipper part way, about halfway, and then we're going to bring the outer layers together and the inner layers together. Now you're going to want to get your clips out. I just use regular old metal binder clips. I try to avoid buying plastic when I can. It's not always easy. And I like to start clipping on the sides where the zipper ends are. And I'm going to point the zipper tape towards the liner fabric, towards this bicycle print fabric. And then I'm just going to add a binder clip right there. Then I'm going to flip the bag around. And once again, I want to make sure that the zipper tape is pointed in towards the bicycle fabric, which is the inside of my bag. And I'm going to add a clip right there. Now I'm going to add my tag. So let's fix that. I'm going to add my tag in between my outer layers, but you can put a tag anywhere you want. It's up to you. I'm going to put it about 3 inches from that top edge. Again, this is totally optional. And I'm just going to pin that in place. And now I'm going to add more pins around my bag to help hold it in place. I've got pins all the way around, and I'm going to take this to the machine now. I'm going to start sewing in my lining fabric right about here. I'm going to sew all the way around the bag with about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then I'm going to stop just after this blue pin so that I have an opening of about 3 or 4 inches in my liner fabric. My standard presser foot is back in place for this second to last seam here. And I'm definitely going to do a back stitch at the beginning and the end. I am coming up on my zipper right here, and I always work with metal zippers and cotton tape. And I want to make sure I'm not going to sew over my metal teeth, so you can always just sort of feel with your fingers. And I'm actually going to sew over my zipper with a couple extra rows of stitches just so it's a super secure spot on the bag. Okay. The seam is done except for down in the liner fabric. I am going to take a minute and just trim off the extra fabric away from the corners. You could trim extra fabric away from your full seam, but I'm just going to do these little corners. And as always, I'm going to be saving my tiny bits in my tiny bits bin. This is organic cotton fabric. It can be added to my compost bin. It can be turned into stuffing or used in some creative art project. Time for the grand reveal. I'm reaching into the opening, and I am going to open up that zipper all the way. Kind of feel around till you find that pull and then push the pull out of the way. Now my bag looks like this. The very last seam is to close up the opening here in the lining. You could iron this or just press it with your fingers. And I'm just going to sew right across there with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Pushed the liner fabric inside and it's done. This would make a super sweet gift for someone. It's also a really nice size for snacks or treats. If you're looking for more fun little tote projects, I have a whole playlist of tote bags. I'm going to link to that playlist right here. You can check that out. And if you'd like to show some support for my channel, I'd love for you to check out my membership. Just click the join button to learn more.